gangster. It's one day, you know.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you guys are all having a great weekend so far. I know that we are. It's hotter than hell, but it is what it is. We're out here. We're getting it done. We got this quick weather report. My neighbor and I both have our sprinklers going. It's raining, but that's the hardest it's been all day. It hasn't even been raining hard enough to the point where the wood on the deck wants to absorb it. So anyway, let's jump back into it. So as you guys can see behind me, the scenery has kind of changed. Some things have been slowly progressing on Sally here. We're going to jump into that here in a minute. We have Betty and we have Ironhide switched around. What we're going to be getting ready to do here actually is I have just about got this thing stripped down. We're getting ready to lift the cab off of it. That way we can pull the axles out of it. We've already got those sold. We're going to scrap the chassis. The hitch is coming out and the exhaust is coming out. Everything's kind of just hanging there. I don't know if we're going to keep the rear bumper or not, but that stuff's coming out. The interior is pretty much gone. The seats and the carpet are still there. You got to do a little bit of work on the headliner, but that's for another day. Pulled Betty out of her corner. We're going to start. I've replenished some of my wiring equipment. Focus here. We've just got some stuff like this big old fusible link here, stuff like this. You know, stuff that doesn't take a whole lot of effort or a whole lot of time. We're going to start knocking that little stuff out of the way. That way it's still moving on. But anyway, let's get into things. So we're finishing up our Posi Lok install today. So we got the cable ran through. I threw some primer around there before I put the rubber grommet in there, just for rust proofing. So it's a little bit harder to see. We did get our chassis or our front axle cleaned up. We got our steering parts all painted up. We are getting ready to bust everything loose up here, and we're going to be throwing the new. We got the hub assemblies cleaned up too. We're going to be getting ready to put in our new shocks and our new coils, which is why those really haven't been touched. So, you know, just adding it to the list. We got the parts for our Posi Lok painted and cleaned up. I kind of just got it mocked together right now as to how it's going to go. I'm going to set you guys up on the tripod, and then we'll mock this thing up and we'll throw it into its hole, and life will be happy. We'll move forward from there. So just a quick mock-up of how this thing is put together and how it goes in the truck. The cable slides through here, and then it slides into this extension piece, I guess, if you will. And this little sensor right here, you still got to use your factory plug here. You're just gonna cut the end of this off, and then put two little eyelets there on the end. So what happens is this little button gets pushed or gets engaged by the cable that slides through. So again, this stuff's just mocked on. I'm gonna, seal all the threads in that. So what happens is it slides through this adapter, this coupling, if you will, and the end of this right here is what pushes that in. This allows your four-wheel drive button or your four-wheel drive light on the dash to still be used, or to be of use, if I can learn to speak. And then just the cable slides in like such, we have it in the disengaged position right now. That way we're not playing hell or binding anything up trying to get it installed. So I am going to slap these E-clips in, and or actually I gotta seal the, yeah, you gotta seal the, you gotta put your thread stuff on here first, slide this through, and then on this shaft here where the, I don't know if you guys can see that or not. I can't get it any close. There we go. So you can see these little notches in here. That's for the E-clip. And that E-clip is what actually holds your fork into place. That way it can engage back and forth. And then this other E-clip right here that goes on the very end, that's what stops it inside of the housing. So I'm going to degrease this because it's a little juicy. That way it makes for a clean install. I like it when things go together without having greasy, grimy handprints all over it, which is why we've taken the time to degrease this thing and get everything looking good. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then we're going to throw this thing in. Alright, so we got this thing all thread sealed up. Got that in there, that in there. I just used a pair of pliers, you know, very gingerly. I mean, you can see there's a scar mark right there. But, I mean, this is so soft, so, you know, be cognizant as you're doing it. We got our E-clips down in there. All I used was the backside of a drill bit, of a thicker drill bit. That way I could push them in there. And camera's freaking out. And then I got the... I'm drawing a blank. The sleeve, we got that in here. This was actually a 19 millimeter, and then we got the new sensor on, which is a 22 millimeter. Both of those are sealed up. Now it's going to be about a day or so before we put any fluids back into this thing. We got to finish scuffing up the back side of it there. You can still see that there's rust. The front of it looks really pretty, but we still got to do the top of the pig. We did the front and the underside of the axle. So again, that all looks good. So we're going to go ahead and throw this bad Oscar in there, and we'll wire it up and pretty much be the end of it. I mean, this so far, this Posi Lok it's been a really nice install, I'm not going to lie. Make sure though, little side tip, make sure though that when you guys order this, you order the actual Posi Lok from the brand Posi Lok. Don't buy there's an imitator that looks just like it. You know, they got the red and the white and all that, but make sure you guys get the genuine 4x4 Posi Lok. Otherwise, it's going to take a shit on you. Not myself personally. I have plenty of folks around me that have used it, and they all told me the same thing. Ray, don't buy the knockoff. So we're going to throw this bad Oscar in here again, and again, it's been really clean. I've been really impressed with it so far. It's easy. A monkey can do it. So let's do this. So I think that's pretty much going to do it as far as the install goes. You guys can see everything's in there, all the wiring's done. We got the breather tube hooked up. Don't lean on grease, that's bad. Started cleaning up the firewall a little bit. Got a light layer of primer on it. And that's pretty much about it. Got the cable ran nicely. Now, because on this truck, you know, we have the motor and the trans and all that obviously out of the truck. We're not exactly 100% sure as to how we're going to route the cable on the inside of the vehicle. And I'll show you what I mean here. So we have a lot of slack that we can play with. Oh, let's light on, perfect. So we got a lot of slack that we can play with. I'm gonna have to adjust the angle of this bracket here, but the center console, well, the little thing that holds the cup holders and that the stick comes out of, all sits in there. So we're gonna try to, when we start putting that part of the truck back together, there we go. So when we start putting that section of the truck back together, that's when we're going to worry about how we're going to get that to mount in there, how we're going to get it to sit nice. I know not a lot's been going on. I haven't been doing a lot of videos. Long story, doesn't matter. It's not important. But, you know, the transfer case is cleaned up too. My wife did a phenomenal job on that. She did that all on her own. A little bit of elbow grease pays off. But nonetheless, the progress has still been flowing on the truck. You know, like I said, the front end has gotten done. You know, we got to go through and clean up some more. Maybe that's back covering that up. Got to clean this up a little bit more. Throw a couple more coats of paint on it, and you know, clean some of that stuff up. That's pretty much all we're doing right now. Is, you know, she plans on keeping the truck for quite a long time. You know, it's a Cummins diesel with a 6-speed manual behind it. Now, a lot of people are going to talk shit about the 6-speed. That's fine. That's cool. But a lot of people also don't realize how to maintain a manual transmission. They don't realize that the fluid in there has to be changed. And it has to be done in a certain schedule. Not, oh, it's a manual, it's just going to keep going forever. And also, a lot of people buy manual trucks because that's a cool thing to do. And they don't know shit about driving it. So, that's another thing, too. We have put this truck through the paces as far as weight goes. Never had an issue with it. So, the next thing that'll be done is the motor's still sitting. Haven't gotten around to that yet just because I want to get the chassis done first. I'm that type of person. If the motor's done, the chassis still looks like shit, I'm putting the motor back in it just because it can go back in. And I'm not going to do that to my wife. She's my biggest supporter. She stood beside me thick and thin. This stupid thing, you know, I'm not going to do that. I'm using a different approach on things this time. You know, our trucks are rusty. We are in the rust belt that turns everything into a rusty shit box. And we're trying something different. I like the way that it's turned out. It looks good. That makes me happy. So, anyway, like I said, things are still happening. It's been slow, but things are happening. I appreciate all you guys for stopping back in. And if you guys could, this really helps me out. You know, I'm jumping back into the swing of things. I'm trying to take back off of this again. It really, really helps me out. If you guys hit that like button, and if you hit that subscribe button, mainly the like button, just because that tells me if the content that I'm creating is, not only if it's good, but also feel free to comment too if you have any questions. Even as far as the Posi Lok goes, at the end of this, I'm going to throw in the information on the screen as to where to get the parts from. So that's going to do it for me. I will see you guys on the next one. I don't know what we're doing yet, but I know we're moving forward. So thanks again, guys. Have a great evening. We'll see you later. Peace.